Hi, my name is Trevor. I'm Jared's brother, and I'm feeling titillated about playing some D&D today. It's a nice rainy day, so it's a good day to be inside.
This is Chat Dragon, a talk show and actual play podcast about sci-fi, fantasy, and the world's most beloved game of make-believe, Dungeons and Dragons. My name is Jared, and I'm your host. I am a newspaper reporter by day and a dungeon master by night. I decided to start this podcast for purely selfish reasons, and that is to have a reason to talk to interesting people about interesting topics, all through the lens of D&D. Each episode, I talk to friends, family members, and tabletop role-playing creatives about this beloved hobby. The conversations are driven by dice, and the games driven by our imaginations. Greetings, everyone. Today is the inaugural episode of the Chat Dragon podcast. I'm your host, Jared. I'm with my brother, Trevor, and how this podcast works basically is that it's a two-part podcast split into two different episodes. The first episode is a short actual play that I will do with my brother, and the second part will be a interview, or the second episode will be an interview. So you'll want to come back next time or next week or whenever the next episode gets released to hear the second part, to hear my interview with my brother. So to start, Trevor, how are you doing today?
Doing well. Nothing too exciting to report. It's a rainy day here in southern Michigan, so yeah, not much going on. Like I said, I mean, feeling very titillated, though, for this game. I'm excited.
Yeah. So since this is the inaugural episode, I have a little bit of an introduction. Actually, I have several introductions, just to kind of explain how this D&D part of the game is going to go. So just for everybody, including yourself, Trevor, just to explain how the actual play portion works, I'm just going to read you this short little thing that I have written. So
Ruby.
just in case you or the listener aren't familiar, the Sidekick, which is the game we're playing today, is played using a modified version of D&D, but takes some inspiration from games such as Dungeon Crawl Classics, Fate RPG, Lamentations of the Flame Princess, and the 5e Hardcore Mode rule sets. The game is played between just the two of us, and much like the childhood game of telephone, what happens tonight in our game will have a direct effect on the next person who plays it. So if the character is maimed, killed, or injured, the next person playing the game will have to deal with those consequences. Any lore or character details that are established this evening will be part of the Sidekick story canon moving forward. Some general changes to the game you should probably know about include there are no death saving throws or magical spells / incantations that can revive a dead player, but a player can be stabilized back to 1 HP if someone has medical training and the necessary medical supplies. Combat is not without consequences. The amount of damage dealt to a player requires a roll on the maiming table. Using a dice chain, players roll different die on the table depending on the severity of the injury. The character of Todd the Heroic, who is going to be your employer in this game, does not level up since he is a bumbling rich idiot. Instead, he boosts his stats with expensive gear and equipment that he buys or finds. The Sidekick, which is you, Marigold Thundercrack, levels up not only through his experience in battle, but also through training. Gold must be acquired and spent to level up the character. Guests can choose to level up a character either at the beginning or end of a game session, but they must have the necessary amount of gold to do so. As an employee to Todd the Heroic, you receive about 20% of all the loot, all the gold collected. This game is not set in any particular D&D setting. This is not the Forgotten Realms, Eberron, Ravenloft, and etc. So, after that quick disclaimer, is there anything that you feel like you need some clarification on, Trevor?
So is the game, because you said I get, 20% of the gold that's found?
Yeah, so if for whatever reason gold were to be found this evening on any sort of thing, say there's a cash register and you rob the cash register or whatever, we would have to determine, you would take 20% of that as your cut. Since you are in the employment of you're the Sidekick. So since you're in the employment of our rich, idiotic hero, Todd the Heroic, he would get the remaining amount.
Gotcha. Okay. I think I said that backwards then. All right. Great. Sounds good.
Right. Just for some background for you and the listeners as well. The character of Marigold Thundercrack is very much a work in progress. Since this is like a game of telephone, like I said, anything this evening will be canon moving forward. But just to start, we have a little bit of knowledge about this character prior to the game. So just keep this in your back pocket. I want you to know this information. The sidekick's real name is Marigold Thundercrack. Our main character, our hero, Todd the Heroic, he's very bad with names, so he doesn't ever seem to remember your real name and will seldom call you by your real name. But Marigold comes from a long line of artists, which is where his unusual sounding name comes from. As a boy, he was very sensitive about his name, which led him to pursue a more physical sort of lifestyle that went against his family wishes. He's only been working with Todd the Heroic for about a month or so. He is just one person in a long list of sidekicks that have partnered with Todd. Most of the previous ones have died. The few that haven't retired rich, but wound up losing a limb or two. The few that haven't retired or have retired are rich now, but wound up losing a limb or two in the process.
Not a great track record with this guy. Seems concerning.
Okay, so Trevor is just writing some things down, taking some notes. Trevor, what kind of notes are you taking right now?
Well, I'm just trying to get the backstory stuff, so that when I'm playing, I can remember maybe some of these interpersonal dynamics. I'm wondering though, a question. So if Todd has gone through many sidekicks already, is that like well known? Does he have a reputation, or is that something I'm kind of unaware of coming into my position here?
I think you would be aware of it to an extent. To the general public, no, but someone in your line of work would probably be aware of it. But Todd pays well. He's a wealthy patron, and you kind of being like a sort of a mercenary for hire type might be not as bothered by that. I don't know how you would want to play the character, but perhaps you're more concerned about living a life of glory than maybe a long life of quiet solitude or what have you. So I don't know how you want to play that, but yeah, you would probably be somewhat aware of that. Maybe even having met a replacement or two along the way.
Have any of his past sidekicks been successful, or have they all kind of had this doom, injuries or death or whatever?
I would say more of them have died than have survived. And the ones that have survived, like I said, have been maimed or injured in some sort of way, either psychically or physically, just from sort of the stuff they've had to go through. But they're now pretty wealthy people. Maybe not as wealthy as Todd, but they're probably upper middle class.
Gotcha. Okay. Sounds like a real piece of crap. No, sounds good. It's all about those dollar bills.
Okay. So just to introduce this scenario that we're jumping into. Previously on the Sidekick, Todd the Heroic and his adventuring sidekick, whose name he still hasn't learned, finds themselves in the middle of a card game with the fearsome pirate, Jason St.Josephine, at the Black Eye Tavern in the port town of Cutlass Hollow. Todd and his sidekick are seeking passage to Blood Skull Island, a place thought to be filled with monstrous horrors, plenty of treasure, and happens to be the perfect place for a would-be adventurer to make a name for himself. Seeking to impress the pirate captain, who is known far and wide as a degenerate gambler and womanizer, Todd makes a lewd comment towards the barmaid delivering his beer. However, unbeknownst to him, this isn't just any barmaid, but is in fact Jason St. Josephine's younger half-sister, Mary McClintock. The action doesn't go unnoticed by the pirate captain, who shares a few choice four-letter words with our hero and then draws his cutlass to do battle. With a challenge made clear to both parties, Jason St. Josephine seeks to duel Todd the Heroic, preferably to the death, but is open to the maiming of a limb or two. But Todd is never one to do things the honorable way. Motioning to his sidekick to jump the enraged pirate, a brawl ensues, and Jason St. Josephine's messenger monkey, Simeon, flees the scene to get help. Alright, so if you have Owlbear Rodeo in front of you, you should see this scene of a bar. Do you have that open, Trevor?
I do.
Okay, so just for the listener to know, the equipment I typically like to use for for online games is Owlbear Rodeo. There's other systems online that you can use, some that are probably more impressive to look at, but I like this one. It's very simple to use. one of the things that we're going to be doing in this game is we're going to be borrowing a little bit from the Fate RPG rules, which allows us to create aspects for our game. So, Trevor, what that would basically mean is, as a group, as a player, you're also going to get to be kind of like a pseudo dungeon master here, and you're going to help me kind of establish what makes a good tavern. So we're going to think of things like, I have a few on here already. It says wet ground, presumably from beer or whatever, some of the beer that was spilt, and broken bottles. So there's probably some broken bottles on the ground from the fight that has already kind of started. And then these things can be used by you to boost your rolls later on. So if you can think of creative ways. Trevor, what are some other things that would make a good tavern scene?
Sure. So I would say, first off, the smell. There's going to be that kind of stale, yeasty smell of ale and alcohols and stuff. Probably some sort of roasting meat smell, I would guess. There's still splashes of blood from last night's brawls, splattered on different tables, maybe against the wall. There's obviously not. Let's go back to the smell. Let's focus on the smell. It's really important. There's no plumbing, so I don't. Let me look at the map here. Is there a bathroom? Presumably you'd have to go outside for the bathroom, right? So I guess there's probably no smell there, but there's probably something wafting from wherever that is. So that's kind of adding a nasty element. Torches for light, so kind of a dim half light, I would guess. That's just the scene setting. I guess you probably want more just like interesting things going on.
Sure. What about? I like to think about the ground. So I'm thinking maybe there's some peanuts on the ground. If you go to those sorts of places where they let you eat nuts and throw the shells on the ground, do you think that maybe fits in with this setting, or what?
Well, it's a port town, it looks like. So I'm gonna say there's probably, instead of peanut shells, probably like crab shells or empty like oyster shells. So there's going to be kind of more like a seafood type thing, kind of maybe littering about. And then
there's probably, since everybody sort of cleared out of this place once the brawl ensued, there's probably plates of food and beer just left on the tables as well.
Makes sense. So still kind of warm food. And I'm going to say it's probably going to be some sort of like, probably still the seafood stuff, but then you're going to have some meat on the bone, some mutton, all that kind of stuff, which could be used for, maybe an impromptu weapon that's still on the bone, used correctly. So there's probably some forks and knives, right, on the tables as well. That could be helpful.
Sure. I think we have a good start, and we can always, as the imagination flows and the creativity flows, we can sort of start creating aspects on the fly. So if you're in the midst of a fight and a roll doesn't go well, and you can, within reason, and it's something that doesn't seem too outlandish, think of an aspect that you could possibly invoke. Say you get knocked into a table or a chair, and the chair splinters. You could maybe somehow use that to your advantage to say there's broken chair splinters now or whatever. So we can kind of continue to create aspects as long as they make narrative sense in the game.
Cool.
Okay. Mm-hmm. I have a little white sticky note here. So that sticky note is just a reminder that if you invoke an aspect and it's done so in an inspiring manner, you will get +2 to your roll. So to set the scene, we have our players. We have Jason St.Josephine kind of standing here at the bar with Todd the Heroic, who is kind of a blonde, handsome-looking fellow. Next to him, kind of in a fight. Your character, Marigold Thundercrack, is just maybe a few feet behind him, coming up from behind, and then kind of behind the bar is this woman, Mary McClintock, who is Jason St. Josephine's half-sister. And then outside the bar, there are several patrons that have fled. Okay, so just to begin, Jason St. Josephine screams, "You jerk! That's my sister!" Through a face full of broken teeth. He takes a swipe at Todd the Heroic, who not so nimbly tries to step backwards out of the way of the blade. Todd slips and falls on a wooden beer stein. The blade goes whooshing overhead, clipping some of his golden locks. Todd massages his butt, his pride more wounded than he is. Wait, he pleads with the pirate captain. It was all a misunderstanding, but Jason St. Josephine refuses to hear Todd out and readies his blade for another strike. So Todd is, he's lying there kind of on the ground. And Jason St. Josephine is sort of lumbering towards him. He's standing over top of him. And you, Marigold Thundercrack, what is your, I guess, how do you proceed?
Yeah. Quick point of clarification, because you said he did it through a mouth of broken teeth. Did I miss? Did he already hit him? Did you say that?
No, I don't think I did. I don't think I established that, and that is probably my mistake. Let's assume that.
I mean, I don't know if he just has like jacked up teeth. Like maybe.
Let's assume he's a
orthodontia. I don't know.
He's a pirate. He's been on. He's been out to sea. Let's assume his nutrition isn't good, and he's got some bad teeth that have either rotted, decayed, broken. He's not he's looking a little worse from where maybe is bad teeth is a sign of scurvy. It's some sort of malnutrition thing, right? So
sure. Yeah, I think the medical term is stank mouth. He has some stank mouth. So
okay, so he has a bit of stank mouth, and Todd is laying on the ground. Your character is coming up behind.
Okay. So he's just fallen on his rear. He's neoed the blade. I think the first thing going through Marigold's mind is, he's kind of getting some flashbacks of all the stories he's heard about how Todd's other sidekicks wind up getting hurt or killed. And it's kind of all making sense. I mean, here he is, fresh on the job, and he's already finding himself in a fight. So he's a little hesitant. He actually doesn't react right away, or I don't react right away as Marigold. So I'm pulling out my sword, but it's kind of half-hearted, and I don't know if that pisses Todd off or not or something. But he doesn't jump right in.
So Jason St. Josephine, he takes a swing at Todd, and Todd is doing sort of like this, like tuck and roll sort of thing, where he's rolling into a ball and he's rolling left to right, kind of dodging the blades as they come smacking down and hitting into the ground. Jason St. Josephine, he goes, let's say he's done this 2-3 times, and on the 4th time he goes and he brings his sword down and it lands into a bit of, I don't know, broken wood from a chair that might have shattered in the process of some would have broken somehow during this brawl that's ensured. And Todd is kind of screaming like, "Over here, you idiot! Do your job. I need your help." So he's just kind of he's kind of talking down to you a little bit because he's in this sort of mortal danger, and he wants you to get over there and help him.
Sure. I was just thinking it might also be helpful for listeners to know. So my weapons, I have a long sword and I have a long bow. And I don't know if there's anything else that's helpful right now. Okay. So those are my 2 weapons. So I'm kind of snapping out of my initial hesitation because first off, it's a man, who's going to get killed. I'm going to watch him get killed right in front of me. So even though I do have a little bit of self-preservation concerns, I want to be a hero. This is just part of the gig. You gotta put life and limb on the line. So I pull out my sword and I shout at Jason St. Josephine. I say, "Hey, stank mouth." I don't know. What do I yell? What's gonna get his attention? Hold on. Let me think about this. It can't be too offensive. I just shout, I go, "Hey, stank mouth," and then I just charge at him with my sword.
Okay, I like it. So we're learning a little bit more about Marigold in this first inaugural episode, and that he's a bit of a trash talker, but he kind of can lose his train of thought as well pretty easily mid trash talk. So you charge at him, you said, right? And are you pulling out your blades, or what are you charging at him with?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I already I unsheathed my sword, so I'm running at him. No, actually, I
Okay,
don't. No, I don't. I just go to tackle him because I'm hoping to de-escalate the situation.
okay, so you take him by surprise. Let me pull up his stats really quick. So you take him by surprise. So because he was so involved with what was going on with Todd the Heroic that you end up having advantage on this. So if I could have you roll a strength check with your strength athletics check. So go ahead and roll strength athletics with advantage, which just means you roll twice and take the highest of the two.
D20.
Yep.
5 and 11.
So you just add, if you have modifiers, which actually don't, yeah, you do. It looks like you have +4 to athletics. So if you want to just add that, tell me what that total ends up being.
Athletics. Well, my highest roll is 11, so that put me at 15.
Okay, so it looks like he has an armor of 14. I'm using the pirate captain stats for Jason St. Josephine from the Ghosts of Saltmarsh, and you managed to tackle him to the ground. So you tackle him to the ground, and since this is kind of a surprising thing, I'll give you another chance to do something. So are you going to, I guess, punch at this guy? How are you going to, are you punching down at this guy, wailing on him, or are you looking to do something else?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think at this point, I'm trying to de-escalate still. Because, for all intents and purposes, kind of seemed to come out of nowhere. Todd definitely had some deplorable behavior with the server, but it's not the first time I've heard language like that, in a tavern. So I'm a little shocked by this. So I don't want to over-escalate the situation. So I think what I try to do is so I've tackled him, I'm on top of him, and then I grab his arm, and I'm trying to bang it against the ground to knock his sword out of his hand.
Okay, as you're doing that, basically a beer glass goes whizzing by. It looks as if Mary McClintock, the barmaid that Todd was inappropriate with, is kind of tossing bottles at you and Todd, and she's trying to kind of support or provide some sort of defense against you guys while her brother fights you. So I'm gonna roll a d4 to see who her next beer bottle is targeted towards. Okay, so I rolled a 4. So odds Todd would have been hit, and evens you were hit. So I rolled a 4. So a beer bottle comes crashing into you. And I'm gonna roll for the damage. And it does, I would say, 6 damage. So if you can subtract 6.
Does my armor class affect this at all, or do I just go right to the hit points?
Oh, actually, you're right. It should be your armor class. What's your armor class?
16.
16. So I guess the bottle hits you, probably sucks a little bit, or maybe it even misses. So how do you... I guess what happens after that bottle goes past you? How do you react?
First off, that's just good service, right? She's trying to give me my beer as fast as possible. So to a certain degree, it's appreciated. But again, I still think at this point, I'm not trying to escalate. I'm still, I think, trying to get the sword out of Jason St. Josephine's hand. And I'm yelling at Mary, like stop, like we don't want to fight. And so I'm still just, again, trying to get that sword out of his hand while she's doing that. And if she still continues to throw and it's missed, and I mean, we've already established there's some refuse here on the ground. So there's some broken wood from a chair, looks like right next to me. So I think I take some of that. If I'm unsuccessful getting the sword out, I maybe take some wood and I just kind of throw it her way. But I'm still yelling, like, stop, but I'm getting frustrated.
Okay. So the wood goes whooshing by, and then it causes Mary to kind of duck behind the bar, and she takes cover for just a second. you
Take
have
that opportunity to focus on getting that sword out. I want that sword out of his hand. What do I do to know if I'm succeeding?
right. Well, let's see what he does in response to you. So, I would say, looking at some of the status effects, I'd say he's restrained at this point. So he can't move. He can speak, I would say, but he automatically fails strength and dexterity saving throws. Attack rolls against a creature have advantage. Okay, so I don't know if he should automatically fail because he's just kind of being grappled, right? I guess he's grappled, maybe. What is the rules for grappling?
I mean, I've startled him with my tackle, right? I mean, a lot has happened, I guess, since that, but he's fallen. I immediately go for the sword.
Yeah, I would say you're grappling with him, so just for the sake of, I would say he has to make a strength athletics check higher or greater than maybe your armor class to see if he can get out from underneath you. So I'm going to see if he is able to struggle free. Okay. So I'm going to roll my d20. Ooh, I got a nat 20, so he automatically gets out automatically. So he is shaking himself, he's moving, he's squirming, he's doing a little bit of jujitsu from the bottom, and he manages to get a leg kind of in between him and you and shove you off of him, kind of causing you to fly a little bit into... Oh, wait, I have the post-it notes still open. Causing you to kind of fly into backwards into a table, and kind of knocking you on your butt right now. So Jason St. Josephine it's up, and now his attention's divided. He's not sure if he should go for Todd the Heroic or Marigold Thundercrack, but Todd seems to have made it easy for him, and he has actually managed to flee, not out of the tavern, but he's fleed to the other side of it, and he's ducking behind a table now, and he's kind of
a real hero.
Yeah, like a real hero. But keep in mind that the only witnesses to this fight right now are Jason St. Josephine, Mary McClintock, and the two of you. So he might tell a tall tale later on that makes him look a lot better than us, because that's the kind of guy he is. So he's hiding behind this table, but he's being very... he's giving his commentary, he's giving you orders, and Jason St. Josephine sort of stalks towards you as he's ready to, since Todd's basically made the decision for him, Jason St. Josephine's going to have to go through you before he can get to Todd. But meanwhile, Mary McClintock decides to start throwing things again. So let's see how she does. So once again, I rolled a d4, rolled an even, so she's tossing a bottle at you, your way. Let's see if she can hit you. I rolled a d20. I rolled an 11 plus 1. I'm just giving her a dex mod of plus 1. So she rolled a 12. What's your armor class?
So minus the previous hit? Is that how that works? She did hit me before.
Yeah, so armor is to see kind of how, if you were to take any damage. So I'm trying to see, right now I'm just saying she's targeted you. She's rolled a 12. If you're at... It looks like
that's my question. That's my question. So does the armor class, as somebody who's not overly familiar with all the mechanics of D&D, does armor class ever go down, kind of how like hit points would? Or is it just, as long as the damage never exceeds what my armor class is, then it just stays the same?
From my understanding with standard D&D 5e rules, I mean, without any sort of modifications, armor basically, I think, stays the same. I'm sure there's like an advanced rule somewhere. And then it's just sort of like lets you know if you're absorbing damage or not. I mean, maybe one day we'll make a narrative change to that where it would make more sense to lower your armor class over time. But for the sake of today, and since it's only a beer bottle, we're not going to mess around with that stat in any sort of way.
Okay. So I'm at 16 then. Armor class.
So let's just say she lobs it a little too far to the left and ends up kind of hitting the wall. So now we have some, as an aspect, our walls are covered in beer.
And there's broken glass, which could also be useful.
So keep in mind, you can use these to add a +2. Just let me know if you plan on invoking it in any sort of way. So just for the listener, I have all these post-it notes kind of all over the place now that Trevor can see in case he can think of any sort of creative way to use this to his advantage. As Jason St. Josephine stalks towards you, he takes a swipe at you with his, let's see what kind of weapons he has. His longsword. So I roll a d20. Ooh, +4 and +3, so 7. So I rolled a 7, so that would not hit, right?
No.
Okay.
Whiffs.
So yeah, he whiffs entirely. He gets his sword. He's kind of going at you in a piercing sort of manner, and I would say he kind of just whiffs it, goes right past you. You're maybe able to get the inside ground, kind of cover some ground and get on the inside of him if you so choose to.
Well, so you said I was pushed back into a table. So if I'm at that position, I think as he's stabbing, I grab off the table. Let's see if there's plates of food. So I just grab whatever's closest and I throw it at him to try and blind him.
Okay.
I guess.
So go ahead and roll a d20 plus your dexterity mod plus, and then add 2 as well, so that we know you invoked that aspect.
6, and then so the dexterity mod. So that's like the +1 part. So 7.
7 altogether.
Oh, then I guess +2, so 9.
So 9. So, as a pirate captain, he has that. I guess he's a little bit more. I would say, He's a little bit more. He's got some street smarts. He saw this move coming, so he kind of moves his head to the left or to the right, and the plate of food kind of goes sailing overhead and ends up just landing on the ground behind him somewhere. But now the ground has more food on it. So let's just say there's a little bit of marinara sauce or something like that on that plate. So now marinara on the floor.
This is a cool tavern.
Yeah. So Todd the Heroic, he finally kind of manages to get a little bit of courage. And by a little, I mean he's still halfway across the room. But he decides to stand up on a table, and he kind of gives this, I don't know, like a battle cry or something to, I guess, it's more so to build his own confidence than to build either of your confidence or anybody else there, since he's the only one who's kind of acting like a coward. But as that happens, Simeon, the pet monkey of Jason St. Josephine, has managed to lead a few of Jason St. Josephine's pirate crew into the bar to help with the captain. So I'm just gonna drag a few of these little pirate tokens on to the map. You're still on the other side of the bar. They're coming through the door. So now you have 3 additional pirates that are here to aid the pirate captain. And the pirate captain, he tells the crew to handle Todd because he's got you covered. So
that's what he thinks.
So what do you do next?
So well, I guess my question is, what does Todd do, right? Do I trust? Do I see that he's not just running away again?
Let's see what kind of inventory Todd has. Like I said, he's more of a guy that gets better with equipment. So looks like he has a potion of the Hill Giant, which you drink, his strength score changes to 21 for 1 hour. The potion has no effect on you if your strength is equal to or greater than that score. So I would say he pulls out a flask of that looks like a liquor flask, and he just takes a chug of it. So that would boost his stats temporarily to give him some extra strength. But meanwhile, you have Jason St.
But-
Josephine to a contender.
Yeah, I don't need to worry about it. Is what I'm hearing. So that's good. So Stankmouth, he's coming at me, right? He's coming at me, and I can now tell there's no chance of de-escalating this, right? Like I can see it in his eye and in his broken teeth that he's looking for some murder. So I draw my sword. I'm ready for this fight. I also have this really weird quirk of every time I fight, much like an action movie. Oh no, I'm not going to do that because I lose all my armor. I was going to say then he has to take off his shirt, just kind of unnecessary skin bearing, but I don't want to lose my armor class, so I don't actually do that. So yeah, so I pull out my sword. I maybe say, can't we just split a plate of marinara, have some beers? Is there any chance I don't have to kill you? Because I will kill you. I will win this fight. I'm also a little cocky.
Jason St. Josephine, he tells you, well, he says no. He just flat out says no. There's no way that someone here doesn't, someone might not die, he might not kill you, but there's no way that his sister's honor won't be defended. So that's going to mean, some sort of punishment, whether it's hurting you, hurting Todd, kidnapping you, throwing you overboard, leaving you on an island somewhere without any food, So he's pretty content on just defending his sister's honor at this point.
Yeah, fair. I think it's also he's embarrassed he can't actually enjoy a good plate of pasta with those teeth.
Yep.
So I've probably insulted him and not even realized it. So I'm gonna take a swing at him with my longsword,
Okay.
and I let me think about how I do this. So I've pulled it. I got it. I'm kind of in kind of like the classic knight stance where I'm standing with my elbows up and it's kind of raised up. The hilt is up near my ear as I'm looking at him. So from there, I kind of do like a downward and upward strike. So I'm kind of cutting upward across his body.
So the motion, as I'm watching you on Discord, it looks like you're almost swinging like a baseball bat, towards a baseball. Is that kind of...
I'd say it gets down under more, right? Because if the blade's turned up, so the blade is facing skyward, it's just kind of, so it's coming upward at a diagonal fashion.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Kind of swinging it down.
I think so. Okay, so go ahead and roll. Let's see if you hit.
That would be a nat 20.
All right, so I believe the rules for nat 20 is you get to roll damage twice, actually. I'm sure there's listeners out there that have every single rule memorized for D&D who's probably screaming right now and telling me I'm doing it wrong. So, but I have in my notes critical hit, roll d20 twice and add modifier. So go ahead and roll damage twice. Roll your d20 twice and add the modifier, whatever your damage would have been. So, on the sword. So, it looks like for damage, you normally would deal a 1d10 plus 2. So roll for d20 twice and then add 2 instead of rolling, and just choose the higher number.
Roll a d20, not a d10?
Yeah.
Okay. And 9 and 10. So 10.
So then, is that plus the 2?
No, so 12 total.
So 12 total. So, let's see. This guy has 45 hit points. So he's now at 33, right? No. Yeah. 33. So you hit him pretty good.
That's right.
And let's see what kind of damage you would have done to this guy. So I'm gonna roll honor. I have a maiming. It's something I created for the listeners. It's called the maiming table. So basically, depending on the amount of damage a player or a person receives, there's various amounts of types of injuries they can get, and depending on how severe the damage is, depends on the size of the die that you roll. For a smaller injury, you would only roll a d4. For a potentially more damaging injury, it can go all the way up to a d10. So for this injury, I'm going to roll a d6. So it could be something minor, or it could be something a little bit more major. So I rolled a 3, which actually it just is a broken hand. So, and he has disadvantage on strength and dexterity checks. So you swing at him, you do hit him, but you hit him with the flat. I would say you hit him with the flat part of your blade. You don't hit him with the edge. You just kind of fumble or twist the blade.
I'm a newbie.
Yeah.
I'm a newbie. I don't know what I'm doing.
And you hit his hand, and you end up breaking his hand. So now he's going to have a bit of a disadvantage in this fight. As you are going through this exchange, the pirates circle Todd on the table. Mary decides to throw another bottle. She rolls a 1, which I believe she's targeting Todd. So let's see if she manages to hit Todd. No, she misses Todd with the bottle, and the bottle goes sailing overhead, and it probably hits one of the other pirates and knocks the pirate. I'll say there's 3 pirates surrounding Todd. There's one to his left and his right, and one kind of maybe towards his front of the table. And so the bottle goes overhead and hits the guy to Todd's left and kind of knocks him unconscious. So now he's got 2 pirates to contend with. The pirates both make a move. They try to restrain Todd. So I'm going to roll for both of them to kind of see if they can grapple him and provide some sort of assistance. So to get their stats up.
Dude, poor Mary, man. She's just not having any luck with these bottles.
No, she's maybe been taking a nip or 2 on her shift, so she's maybe feeling it. So,
sure.
So I got a 10. 11. So between the 2 of them, I have a 19 total in a strength check. I'm sure there's rules here that I'm not doing right, but I don't exactly think the listener wants to listen to me turning pages, trying to figure out the exact rules for providing assistance. So at a 19, Todd has an armor of... Actually, I think armor isn't really something that's going to defend you from a grapple. It just doesn't make narrative sense. So I'm going to say his strength is what's probably going to be what prevents him from becoming grappled. And since he has this crazy strength right now from his potion he's taken, the 2 pirates, they grab him by the arms, and then he just sort of he stands, kind of shrugs him off and throwing him to the left and the right of him, and then he kind of go flying. One hits the bar, the other one just kind of lands somewhere on the ground, and he jumps off the table feeling pretty confident, pretty full of himself. It's a false confidence, but he's finally ready to enter the fray. So Jason St. Josephine, he's probably up at this point. I don't think he's taken a move in a while. So he decides himself to jump up on the sword. He jumps up on a chair, which, it's kind of clumsily, and he kind of jumps off the chair, very like in this kind of flamboyant sort of way. He's being a little bit extra at this moment, and he jumps towards you, swinging his longsword.
Can he still swing it well, though? He's got a broken hand. So, disadvantage, right?
Good point. So, yeah, he tries to swing his longsword, but it's kind of loosey-goosey. So, he's trying to really kind of take you off guard with this kind of crazy flamboyant attack. So, he's going to actually just use some aspects. He's just going to use the scene of the chairs and what have you as a way to just kind of boost his stats, since he's at a disadvantage. So 12.
What do you mean he's using the chairs?
So he's using kind of the furniture in the furniture to gain the high ground. So like I was saying, he's invoking kind of the scenery to give himself a little bit of an advantage. 11 plus 3. So he has a 15 on his swing.
15?
Yeah.
My armor class is still 16.
Right. So I guess how do you see yourself defending against this?
So he's kind of swinging down at me, but it's loosey-goosey.
Sorry for the technical difficulties. During this portion of the podcast, we discovered that the Discord bot we were using to record our conversation had disconnected. My bad.
Well, I don't know.
I would think more reliable lighting, like some sort of kerosene lantern. Does that seem fair? Instead of saying it's a torch?
Whatever you think, man. I guess I didn't know where we were at technologically in this world, so I went with torch, but lantern makes sense. It's gonna smash better on his face, so I'm all for it.
Okay. So you grab the torch or the lantern, and then what are you doing with it again?
I'm throwing it at him because he has the high ground, so I don't really want to engage him, up close with my sword. So I'm gonna try and throw the lantern and knock him out, knock him down, knock him off the table. But I'm aiming for his face.
All right, so go ahead and roll your d20, and then add your dex modifier as well as a +2 to the lantern.
Oh, nat 20.
Okay, so that's going to hit. So go ahead and roll. So it hits regardless. So go ahead for damage. Just roll your d20 and then add dex plus the lantern again.
Okay.
We got to figure out how to make these.
So 8 plus 1 for my dex mod plus 2, so 11.
Okay, so again, you deal 11 damage, so puts him at 22. What was he at before? It's 12, so technically he's taking 24 damage at this point. So 11 damage. We're gonna roll a d8, or see if you can. Actually, he's still kind of in the range of a d6, so I'm gonna roll a d6, see if we get anything more critical than a broken hand. Okay, so it hits him. It gives him a black eye. It hits him really hard in the face. So he's got a broken hand and he's got a black eye at this point. He's looking pretty ugly. Let's just say he's lost.
Sure. About what's happening to him. So if it's a lantern, is it encased in glass? So could it maybe I don't know.
Catch fire?
Well, smash. Maybe he gets some glass in his eye. Maybe he's lost a little vision. I don't know. That's what I was picturing.
Yeah, so he's blinded at this point, and just for you to know, being blinded has the following effect. So the creature can't see and automatically fails any ability check that requires sight. Attack rolls against this creature have advantage, and the creature attack rolls have disadvantage. So now anything you do to him has advantage at this point, and anytime he tries to hurt you, he's going to have disadvantage. Okay. I would say that too. Since this place is covered in beer and alcohol and spirits of different sorts all over, just from it being spilled and kind of being a dingy place, a fire has broken out kind of in the corner towards you. It's kind of moving slowly in a line. It's slowly kind of moving its way to other parts of the bar, but right now there's a small fire nearby. And he is blind, so let's see. But he's blind and he has a broken face. I would say his face is pretty broken in general. He's probably got a broken orbital bone. He's probably lost some teeth because this lantern is kind of heavy. It's not just getting hit in the face with a baseball or something. I mean, that could break your teeth, but it's a pretty weighty item to be hit with. So,
has he fallen from the table, or is he still up there?
Yeah, he's fallen from the table, and just as a natural clumsiness, let's say he loses an additional 2 points because he hits the ground pretty hard. So he's at 20.
Remaining health is 20.
Yeah. So Todd is fighting these pirates. This third pirate has kind of recovered and regained consciousness, so now we have 3 pirates that he's contending with, and the two of them try to grapple him. So let's see if they can do that again. I got a nat 20, so I would say 20 and 18. So plus, how did I do this last time? Okay, I added strength, so 20 plus 2, and then so 2 20s, so that'd be 40. They managed to grapple him, and then the third pirate who regained consciousness comes up behind and he throws like a burlap, like some sort of sackcloth thing over his head and to like cover his face, and they wrestle him to the ground. And the thing has kind of been soaked in some sort of chloroform sort of agent, and it knocks Todd out. So now they have the high ground, and they have your boss held captured and being held hostage. And Jason St.Josephine, who is clearly losing this fight, also he tries to, I guess, bargain with you at this point, because I think either way, someone's gonna die. He's telling you like he knows you could kill him, but if he dies, then they're gonna kill Todd. So he's trying to bargain with you. So do you find yourself being receptive, I guess, to something like that, or?
I think I say he's got it twisted because I have the advantage on him. So why is he trying to bargain? I think I'm the one who maybe tries to bargain, who's saying like, if you don't let my boss go, I'm going to kill you. So it's kind of on you to let him go and let us get out of here safely.
Yeah. So let's see if you can, I guess, sway him, if you're swaying him in any sort of way. So let me see how we do this. I'm saying I don't think you have persuasion, do you? So you're using a kind of a modifier.
Would that be my skills, or where would that be?
Yeah, I think, if you have persuasion, you can roll persuasion. If not, otherwise you can you just will roll charisma.
Okay, I don't have persuasion, but I have perception, so I'm pretty correct in my analysis here. But okay, I'll roll charisma. 10 with no modifiers, so just 10.
All right. So he's not entirely convinced. He thinks he has the advantage here, and he keeps kind of telling you like, you need to stand down or else this is going to be a problem for you and your boss. And as he says that, more pirates kind of start to arrive from his ship, and they kind of keep coming in. And these ones don't go to surround Todd. Todd's already taken out, so they kind of come in and they kind of come and start to support their boss. So now it looks like it's a fight. You have a maimed pirate captain, but you also have 3 of his lackeys also kind of providing backup. So now it's a 4 against 5 or 4 against 1.
This is what we in the industry call a pickle. This is not good. I'm also looking like I'm in this tavern. Is there no escape behind me? It looks like I'm kind of locked in here.
He promises you that, if you come quietly, they won't kill you. At least not out in the open.
So what was his bargain again? If I just stand down?
Stand down. They won't kill Todd, and they won't kill you.
Well, I'm thinking. So there's also this fire. So I'm thinking what I do is, if there's bottles of glass or of beer and liquor and stuff all around me, I think I take one and I throw it at the fire, hoping that if it kind of explodes, just big kind of, sorry, knocked my hat off my head, listener. So if the fire kind of just flares up, it'll be a distraction, and I can maybe run past. And my hope is to get past Jason St. Josephine and the 3 there, and then be able to maybe do a quick move and grab Todd and drag him out.
Okay, yeah. So the flame explodes and it creates a flash. So your character, you're saying sprints past them as that flash happens.
Yep.
Okay, so it creates a flash, and then I would say a blaze. There's kind of a bit of a blaze kind of in this area, and it's really starting to pick up. Things are getting pretty hot. So I want to have you do a Constitution saving throw since you were running through this fire to see if you were, I guess, burned in any sort of way.
Okay. 11 plus 2, so 13.
All right, so you do get a burn. So just subtract 5
From my health?
So you're burned. I would say that. Let's see. How should a burn work? I would say you would have a bit of a disadvantage. I guess where do you see yourself being burned? Legs, arms, face. Where does this burn on your body?
Well, I guess my question is to you is when it happens. So is it because if I throw the bottle and it breaks and explodes and there's that flare, am I kind of caught in that initial burst of heat as I'm trying to run past? Or is it like I get past them and then the fire's just out of control and like I can't get around it, so I'm gonna get burned trying to leave?
I think it kind of ignites as it's like hitting the fire, and you have to kind of almost jump through the fire a little bit to get to it. It hasn't taken off quite as much as it has now. That's like kind of engulfing this tavern, but there's a bit of an explosion, and you're kind of running through it. I would say it was like you were chucking it as you're running. If that makes sense.
Right. So I would say it's gonna probably mostly be on my right side of my body, and so as I'm going, it's this kind of big, kind of flash of heat. So I get, I don't know, kind of like, I guess in the moment you probably won't realize how bad it is. It'll be one of those things later as the skin starts to fall off and peel and pus. But kind of like a two-face thing. So the right side of my face, it's all burned, and then the hair on that side of the head, it's singed. I don't know if it'd be totally gone because I got some luscious locks, but yeah. So the right side of my body, it's all kind of, feeling burned. So my exposed hand on that side, it's not covered by armor. That's probably got a little burn as well.
Okay, so I think that's fair. So I would say any sort of weapon you wield. Is the right hand your dominant hand, do you think, for this character?
This is an interesting moment to ask me that, because I'm going to say no, just so I'm not at a disadvantage.
Okay, so I would say that if you have to use your right hand for something, say it's wielding a two-handed weapon, like a longsword perhaps, or
like a bow maybe, or
a bow, you're going to have a disadvantage. If you have a dagger, which I don't think your character is equipped with one, that you can wield one-handedly, or have a beer bottle that you can wield with one hand, then that's going to be, you'll still have your stats will be fine. So, does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay, so you got past them. The fire is going crazy. These guys have got your boss captured. And I'm guessing how do you see yourself kind of getting through these guys to get him?
Are they distracted at all, or how do they react to the fire in this kind of quick developing situation? Because I'm thinking like their boss is now caught in the fire too. So do they maybe get kind of really concerned with trying to help him? Do they stick with Todd?
I would say that one of them, actually two of them, are going to move off to help. One of them moves towards the boss. Another one moves towards the bar and runs around and is trying to find something to throw on the flames, and idiotically just grabs more liquor and throws it on the flames, and then he becomes engulfed. And then one of them, who's not an idiot, she or he or whoever sticks with Todd to provide to guard him, and didn't really fall for it. So
sure. So I'm just dealing with one guy here.
Or girl.
Or yes, one opponent. So this is a quick developing situation. So my hand's burned. I know I'm not gonna have a great swing with my sword. So I sheath that because it's still in my left hand. So I sheath it, and I try to do a quick 2-step move. So again, I grab some pieces of broken glass and I try to like throw them up like into the guy's face. And then while that's happening, so I throw that with my bad hand because like it's not perfect, but you know I can probably get it. Just it's a distraction. Then with my other hand, I grab a knife, one of the cutlery from a table, and I come lunging in when he's distracted, or hopefully when he's distracted, to try and stab him in the throat.
Okay, so let's see what happens with first. Let's break it down. So the first thing you did is you threw glass, right, or something at this person.
Yep.
So roll your d20, add your dexterity mod.
So altogether 9. You get any aspect
Okay.
or anything since I'm using?
Oh yeah.
No.
Well, I guess what's the aspect you're using and how are you using it? So it has to make sense.
So the broken glass, right? Isn't that's an environmental thing?
Okay, so do you think maybe like the light catches the glass somehow so that way it's reflective, maybe, or so maybe it shines, or just the fact that it's a weapon, a non-ordinary weapon, something maybe they weren't looking to having to dodge or whatever. Maybe it is a distraction in itself. See what I'm trying to say? Like it kind of needs to like.
I do. I feel like maybe I was not totally ever clear on what you meant by aspect. You kind of just said it, so I was interpreting it. Maybe I'm incorrect in that. Maybe I didn't hear the explanation. But I was thinking it was just like if I interact with the environment around me, and you said like in an inspiring way. Because I don't know. Just it's creative. I thought to engage with the environment. So I thought maybe I would get some points. If I don't get points, I don't get points. That's all good.
It is. It's meant to be creative and to be a kind of a storytelling thing and to help, with the storytelling. So I'm just saying, let's think of a way where you can use that broken bottle. So let's say there's obviously a lot of light from this fire. So maybe there's a bit of glare or something that catches on the glass that distracts that person. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm going to just maybe forego that because I don't think that would be as distracting as a big blaze around him and then like the stuff just flying into his face. So let's disregard that. So we'll just stick with I think I said I had 11 total.
Okay, so I'm gonna just roll athletics to see if this person is athletic enough to move out of the way. No, they're not. So they rolled a 7. So you hit him with the broken bottle. So
broken glass.
So go ahead and roll. I don't think it should. Let's roll a D4 plus your dexterity mod. I'm thinking glass isn't gonna do as much damage as say like a dagger or a sword or anything. So I don't want to.
Yeah. This is just supposed to be a distraction here, so that makes sense.
Oh.
So D4 plus anything or just
your dexterity.
Dexterity. Okay. 2 plus 1, so 3.
3. Okay. So the person's distracted. They take a bit of damage. I would say it hits them in the face. They become blinded. So this person is blinded from glass. So you managed to distract them. So now what's your next move? What was the thing you wanted?
Yeah, so I grab a knife from a nearby table. So I throw it, and then I'm running towards him as I throw the glass in his face, and so I swipe a knife off a nearby table as I'm coming, and then I try to like get in close and thrust it up into his throat.
Okay, so he's blinded. He doesn't see this attack coming. I would say he has disadvantage. I'm thinking, does his armor really matter at this point? He's blinded. He's not seeing it. I'm thinking, no, for narrative's sake, we're just gonna forego that particular roll. Let's see if you hit though, or how much you hit him for. So a dagger has 1d4 piercing damage. So go ahead and roll a d4 and see if that See what kind of damage you do to him.
Okay, let me make sure. The D4 it's this triangle one. Okay. 1.
Okay, so you hit him. Doesn't do a ton of damage. You maybe get him. Let's say you get him in between the ribs, so in the intercostal sort of area, and that intercostal causes him to receive an exhaustion level of 1. So this guy is pretty. So he's getting pretty messed up. So he has a disadvantage on ability checks if he didn't already, which he did. So he takes a knee. He is down. He's trying to catch his breath, but he is or she's not out of the fight. So they kind of swing their longsword from the knees, kind of up, trying to kind of at you. But I'm going to roll with disadvantage, so to see if they can actually hit you from this kneeling position. So 7 plus 2 is 8, 9, and your armor is what, 16?
Yes.
Right. So he whiffs it, or he or whoever whiffs the sword, the blade, and kind of the positioning of them being on their knees and the weight of the sword and the momentum and all that, it kind of knocks them on their butt and they fall backwards, just from the energy that it took to kind of swing the sword. So they're prone currently. So you're up next.
Yeah, I feel like at this point, I'm kind of enraged. I'm feeling the bloodlust. So I try to. So like he's on the ground. So I kind of grab him by his collar, and I throw him into the fire.
Oh, the guy you're fighting?
Yeah.
All right. Roll strength with disadvantage.
Which die?
20 plus your strength modifier.
13 plus 2, 16.
Did you roll twice?
Oh, no. 10 plus 2, 12. So
Okay.
12. Good system.
Okay, they're struggling, and they're trying to get free, and you manage to get them, I would say, like halfway into the fire, because this is a person who's kind of fighting with you, and you're already in a weakened state too, so you're both kind of weak at this point. So this person, for whatever reason, I would say they probably have a flask of alcohol or a bottle of something on their side, on their person, because they're a pirate. Maybe some paper playing cards. They're not very this is like not like covered, and they're not like new playing cards where they have a nice glossy finish, so they're just straight up paper, and both those things catch fire. So this person's legs are kind of on fire, and they're screaming, and Todd is he's just out cold, laying on the ground, unaware that this fire is happening. A few of these other pirates that were in the fire somehow managed to kind of get through, and they're not super close because there's still fire, but they're trying to kind of get through to you. They've managed to change positions here. So I guess, and then some of these, let's say I have these people. There are some people kind of outside the building, and they're spectating the fire. They're like watching this place burn, kind of enjoying it. A crowd's sort of formed at this point, kind of just enjoying the blaze. A town guard, has wandered over into the area, and he doesn't really dare go in, but he's outside and he's kind of screaming to see if there's any kind of survivors or anybody inside. It's smoky. Okay, go ahead.
So I think again, with just how many bottles and everything that's around, I guess I don't know if there still is. If there's a bottle near me, I kind of throw it like between me and Jason St.Josephine and all the other pirates to try and create a barrier of fire so they can't just pursue us without difficulty. And
okay.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to
No, I was
interrupt
gonna say, I don't know if that succeeds. So
you. Okay, go ahead and roll a d20. Add your. Let's see if there's any modifiers for that. That would make sense. I'm trying to look at your stats. Let's just say it's an intelligence because it kind of requires some wits to think to throw a bottle to spark the flame. So go ahead and roll a d20.
13.
All right, so that works. The flame, it goes up, creates another sort of barrier, explodes, and just further shields you from the group. But Mary McClintock, she tosses a bottle your way. So let's see if she... Oh, shoot. I dropped my dice. She throws a bottle your way. It's a 15. So, looks like... What's your strength at? 16?
My armor 16.
Yeah, armor 16. It doesn't manage to land, or it bounces off you or whatever. So it has an unexpected for her. It has an unexpected effect. But what should have been obvious is that this stuff is flammable, and there's a fire that sort of it bounces off of you. It kind of starts to form, kind of as kind of spreading towards the furniture in a way. How would you like to proceed?
So I'm standing there and I'm giggling. I'm laughing. I got my guy next to me screaming in the fire. Mary McClintock, she continues to fail with her projectile bottles, which, at this point is just becoming hilarious. I'm kind of getting that battle hysteria. And now there's all the other pirates, they're trapped in flames. So, like I said, I'm kind of in this bloodlust madness. So what I do is I bend and I get Todd on my back, and even though now there's a fire on the other side of us, it looks like maybe between the door and I or us. I know I got to run through that to get out. So with him on my back, I run through the fire towards the door.
Okay. So let's see how this fire does. Let's roll out, do an athletics check to see if you managed to if you were able to kind of like leap over the fire, or if you just ended up getting burned.
Okay, D20.
Plus your athletics, which is 4.
Yep. 13 plus 4, so 17.
Right, so you're able to get over the fire or get through it. Maybe like something like there's just a slight parting where you're able to kind of get through it, and the two of you get through the door. The guard who
not yet.
Sorry, go ahead.
I get through the fire, and then once I'm safely on the other side, I tip like a table into the fire to kind of build it up so they can't get out. They're trapped.
Okay.
And then we leave.
Okay. So, I don't know why I did that, but anyway, so you get through the fire. The guard can kind of get to you, and he helps to take the weight of Todd off your back, and allowing you to kind of just walk through the door. So Todd is now on this guard's back. Okay, there it goes. You get through the door. You're in the bar, and all these people are stuck, trapped in there. And then another guard, who kind of came later, comes. Actually, 2 guards come later, and they put handcuffs. They take you under arrest, and they put handcuffs.
Why? They don't know anything about what happened. I disagree with this. I'm under protest. As far as they know, I was just having a pleasant meal with my buddy, and a fire broke out, and we're lucky to have survived. They don't know the carnage that's reigning inside.
I mean, that's fair, but I mean, until things get sorted, they're gonna put you two under arrest until they can figure out what exactly happens.
What kind of justice system is this?
And that concludes our first actual play of the Sidekick. So